Most people live their entire lives on autopilot. They wake up each morning, go through the same routines, make the same choices, hang around the same people, think the same thoughts they thought yesterday, and then wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why their bank account looks the same, why their relationships feel stagnant, why their dreams remain dreams, and why life feels like it's happening to them rather than being created by them. But here's what I've learned in all my years of studying success and human behavior. Life doesn't get better by accident. Life gets better by design. And sometimes designing a better life requires something that most people are too afraid to do. It requires a complete reset. It requires the courage to stop what isn't working and start what will work. It requires the wisdom to know that where you are today is simply the result of the decisions you made yesterday, and where you'll be tomorrow depends entirely on the decisions you make today. Now, I want you to understand something fundamental about human nature. We are creatures of habit. Our brains are wired to seek comfort, familiarity, and the path of least resistance. This served our ancestors well when survival was the primary concern, but in today's world, this same wiring can become our greatest enemy. It keeps us trapped in mediocrity. It keeps us settling for less than we deserve. It keeps us making excuses instead of making progress. Think about it. How many people do you know who complain about their circumstances but refuse to change their actions? How many people blame their past, their environment, their family, their education, or their lack of opportunities for where they are today? These people have convinced themselves that they are victims of circumstance, that life is something that happens to them rather than something they create. They've forgotten one of the most powerful truths in all of human experience. You have the power to reset your life at any moment you choose. But here's the challenge. Resetting your life isn't comfortable. It's not easy. It requires you to step out of your comfort zone and into what I call the growth zone. It requires you to face the truth about where you are, accept responsibility for how you got there, and then make the difficult decisions necessary to change course. Most people would rather stay comfortable in their misery than be uncomfortable on their way to something better.
Let me tell you about the anatomy of a life reset. It starts with awareness. You first need to become aware of where you are and how you arrived there.
This isn't about beating yourself up or wallowing in regret. This is about taking an honest inventory of your life. Look at your relationships. Are they lifting you up or dragging you down? Look at your daily habits. Are they moving you toward your goals or away from them? Look at your financial situation. Are your spending habits creating wealth or creating stress? Look at your health. Are your daily choices adding years to your life or taking years away? Most people avoid this kind of honest self-assessment because it's uncomfortable. It forces them to confront the gap between where they are and where they want to be. It forces them to acknowledge that they've been making choices that don't align with their stated goals and values. But here's what you must understand. This discomfort is not your enemy. This discomfort is the beginning of transformation. This discomfort is your friend because it's telling you that change is necessary. Once you've developed awareness, the next step is acceptance. You must accept full responsibility for where you are today. Not partial responsibility, not conditional responsibility, full responsibility. This might be the hardest part of the reset process because it requires you to give up the luxury of blame. It requires you to stop being a victim and start being a victor. It requires you to acknowledge that while you may not be responsible for everything that happened to you, you are absolutely responsible for what you do about it. I've watched people struggle with this concept for years. They'll say things like, but you don't understand my situation. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know how hard it's been. And they're right. I don't know their specific circumstances, but here's what I do know. Everyone has a story. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has obstacles. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of problems. The difference is how they respond to problems. You see, when you accept full responsibility for your life, something magical happens. You reclaim your power. As long as you're blaming someone or something else for your circumstances, you're powerless to change them. But the moment you accept responsibility, you also accept the power to create change. You realize that if you created your current situation through your past choices, you can create a different situation through different choices. Now let me talk to you about the power of decision. Every reset begins with a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, not a someday maybe if things work out kind of thinking. A decision, a firm, unwavering commitment to change. When you truly decide to reset your life, you cut off all other possibilities. You burn the bridges behind you. You make retreat impossible and advance inevitable. But here's what most people don't understand about decisions. They think a decision is something you make once and then hope it sticks. That's not a decision. That's a wish with a little bit of intention mixed in. A real decision is something you make and then reinforce every single day through your actions. A real decision is backed up by discipline, consistency, and an unwavering commitment to follow through regardless of how you feel on any given day. Let me give you an example. Let's say you decide to reset your health. You look in the mirror one day and realize that your current lifestyle is slowly killing you. You're overweight, out of shape, tired all the time, and heading toward a future filled with health problems. You truly decide that this ends now. That decision isn't just about joining a gym or starting a diet. That decision is about fundamentally changing your relationship with food, exercise, and your body. It's about making different choices every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. The same principle applies to every area of your life. If you want to reset your finances, it's not enough to decide you want to be wealthy. You must decide to change your relationship with money. You must decide to educate yourself about financial principles.
You have to choose to spend less than you earn, to invest, and to forego immediate gratification. You need to make those choices not once, but daily. To reboot your career, simply choosing to want a better job will not suffice.
You must decide to become the kind of person who deserves a better job. You must decide to develop new skills, expand your network, and add more value to the marketplace. You must decide to stop blaming your boss, your company, or the economy for your lack of progress and start taking action to create the career you want. Now, let me share with you one of the most important principles of personal development. You cannot change your life until you change your daily routine. Your life is essentially the sum total of your daily habits repeated over time. If you want different results, you must create different habits. If you want a different future, you must live differently today. This is where most people fail in their reset attempts. They try to change everything at once. They create elaborate plans with dozens of new habits and unrealistic expectations. Then, when they inevitably fall short of their unrealistic standards, they give up entirely and go back to their old ways. They conclude that change is too hard, that they don't have enough willpower, or that they're just not the kind of person who can transform their life. But here's the truth. Sustainable change happens gradually, not dramatically. It happens through small, consistent actions repeated over time. It happens when you focus on progress, not perfection. It happens when you understand that every day you have the opportunity to vote for the person you're becoming through the choices you make. Let me tell you about the compound effect of small changes. If you improve just 1% each day, at the end of a year, you'll be 37 better than when you started. 37 times. That's the power of consistent, incremental improvement. That's the power of understanding that you don't have to be perfect to make progress. And you don't have to make dramatic changes to create dramatic results over time. But here's where it gets challenging. The compound effect works both ways. Just as small positive changes compound over time to create remarkable results, small negative choices also compound over time to create devastating consequences. Every day you're either getting better or getting worse. There is no neutral. There is no standing still. You're either moving toward your goals or away from them. You're either developing habits that serve your future self or habits that sabotage your future self. This brings me to one of the most critical aspects of resetting your life, the people you surround yourself with. You've probably heard the saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just a cute motivational saying. This is a fundamental truth about human behavior. We are social creatures and we naturally adapt to our environment and the people in it. If you want to reset your life, you must reset your associations. You must honestly evaluate the people in your life and ask yourself, are these people inspiring me to become better? Or are they enabling me to stay the same? Are they challenging me to grow? Or are they comfortable with my mediocrity? Are they supportive of my goals and dreams? Or are they threatened by my desire to improve? This doesn't mean you have to be cruel or cut people out of your life dramatically. But it does mean you must be strategic about who you spend your time with and who has influence over your thinking. You must seek out people who are going where you want to go, who have what you want to have, who are becoming who you want to become. You must find mentors, coaches, and peers who will challenge you, encourage you, and hold you accountable to your highest standards. At the same time, you must limit your exposure to people who drain your energy, discourage your dreams, or try to pull you back into old patterns. This might be family members who don't understand your desire to change. It might be friends who are comfortable with the status quo and feel threatened by your growth. It might be colleagues who prefer complaining to creating solutions. You don't have to be mean to these people, but you also don't have to let them derail your progress. Now, let me talk to you about one of the biggest obstacles you'll face in your reset journey, your own mind. Your mind is incredibly powerful, but it's also incredibly resistant to change. It will create all kinds of stories, excuses, and justifications for why you should stay where you are. It will remind you of past failures. It will exaggerate the risks of change and minimize the benefits. It will try to convince you that you're not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough to create the life you want. This is normal. This is part of the process. Every successful person has had to overcome the resistance of their own mind. The key is to understand that these thoughts are not facts. They're just thoughts. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You don't have to act on every feeling you experience. You have the power to choose which thoughts you focus on and which thoughts you dismiss. One of the most effective ways to overcome mental resistance is to develop what I call a philosophy of progress. This is a set of beliefs and principles that guide your thinking and decision making. It's a framework for understanding that growth requires discomfort, that failure is feedback, that setbacks are setups for comebacks, and that every challenge it becomes to become stronger. Your philosophy becomes your compass when the storms of life blow you off course. It reminds you why you started when you want to quit. It helps you see temporary defeats as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. It transforms problems from threats into opportunities for growth and development. Let me share with you some of the key components of a powerful philosophy for life reset. First, embrace the concept of personal responsibility. Understand that you are the author of your life story. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you absolutely control how you respond to what happens to you. This responsibility is your greatest power and your greatest responsibility. Second, adopt a growth mindset. Believe that your abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. Understand that failure is not a reflection of your worth as a person, but simply feedback about what's working and what isn't. View challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to avoid. Third, focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. You can't control the economy, other people's behavior, the weather, or the past. But you can control your attitude, your effort, your learning, and your responses. When you focus your energy on what you can control, you become more powerful and less stressed. Fourth, think long term. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. When you're resetting your life, you must think beyond immediate gratification and focus on long-term fulfillment. You must be willing to make sacrifices today for benefits tomorrow. Now, let me address something that stops many people from even attempting to reset their lives: the fear of what others will think. They worry that friends and family will judge them for wanting to change. They worry about being seen as ungrateful for what they have. They worry about failing publicly and being embarrassed. Here's what you must understand: other people's opinions of you are none of your business. Their opinions are based on their own fears, limitations, and experiences, not yours. When someone criticizes your desire to improve, they're usually revealing more about themselves than about you. They might be threatened by your growth because it highlights their own lack of action. They might be afraid of losing you if you change. They might be projecting their own fears of failure onto your situation. You cannot let other people's small thinking limit your big dreams. You cannot let their fear of change stop your necessary growth. You cannot let their comfort with mediocrity prevent your pursuit of excellence. Your life is too important and too short to live according to other people's expectations or limitations. But here's something even more important. You must also not let your own fear of judgment stop you from taking action. Most of the time, people aren't paying as much attention to you as you think they are. They're too busy dealing with their own lives and their own challenges. And those who do pay attention and criticize, they're usually the ones who aren't doing anything significant with their own lives. The people whose opinions truly matter, the people who love you and want the best for you, will support your desire to grow and improve. They might not understand all your choices, but they'll respect your commitment to becoming better. And if they don't, well, that tells you something important about the relationship and whether it deserves a place in your reset life. Let me talk to you now about the practical aspects of resetting your life. It starts with clarity. You must get crystal clear about what you want your new life to look like. Not just a vague idea of being better or happier, but specific, detailed vision of your ideal future. What does your ideal day look like? What kind of work are you doing? What kind of relationships do you have? What kind of health do you enjoy? What kind of lifestyle do you live? This vision becomes your North Star. It guides your decisions and keeps you motivated when times get tough. But creating a vision isn't enough. You must also create a plan. You must break down your big vision into smaller goals, and your goals into specific actions, and your actions into daily habits. Here's a framework that works. Start with your 1-year vision, then work backward. What would you need to accomplish in 6 months to be on track for your 1-year vision? What would you need to accomplish this quarter to be on track for your 6-month goals? What would you need to accomplish this month to be on track for your quarterly goals? What would you need to accomplish this week to be on track for your monthly goals? What would you need to accomplish today to be on track for your weekly goals? This process takes your big, potentially overwhelming vision and breaks it down into manageable, actionable steps. It answers the question that stops most people: where do I start? You start with today. You start with what you can do right now with what you have from where you are. But planning is only the beginning. Execution is where dreams become reality, and execution requires discipline. Discipline is doing what you need to do when you need to do it, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Most people think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. That's partially true, but it's not the complete picture. Real discipline is about aligning your actions with your values and long-term goals, even when your emotions are pulling you in a different direction. Real discipline is about keeping promises to yourself. Real discipline is about respecting your future self enough to do what's necessary today. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it compounds. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your self-confidence. Every time you choose long-term benefit over short-term pleasure, you develop your character. Over time, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about naturally choosing what serves your highest good. Now, let me address something that will definitely happen during your reset journey: setbacks. You will have bad days. You will make mistakes. You will occasionally fall back into old patterns, or you will face obstacles you didn't anticipate. You will question whether all this effort is worth it. This is not a sign that you're failing. This is a sign that you're human. The difference between those who successfully reset their lives and those who don't isn't the absence of setbacks. The difference is how they respond to setbacks. Successful people view setbacks as temporary and specific, not permanent and pervasive. They learn from their mistakes instead of being defeated by them. They use failures as stepping stones instead of tombstones. When you experience a setback, and you will, resist the urge to catastrophize. Don't let one bad day become a bad week. Don't let one poor choice become a pattern of poor choices. Don't let one failure convince you that you're not capable of success. Instead, get curious about what went wrong. What can you learn from this experience? How can you adjust your approach? What support or resources do you need to prevent this from happening again? Remember, resilience is not about avoiding adversity. Resilience is about bouncing back from adversity stronger than before. Every challenge you overcome builds your resilience muscle. Every obstacle you navigate increases your confidence. Every setback you recover from proves to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances. Let me share with you one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself during difficult times: how is this serving me? Not why is this happening to me, but how is this serving me? This question shifts your focus from being a victim to being a student. It helps you find the lesson, the opportunity, or the strength that every challenge contains. Sometimes the answer is obvious. Maybe a job loss forces you to finally pursue the career you really want. Maybe a health scare motivates you to finally take care of your body. Maybe a relationship ending opens space for a better relationship to enter your life. But sometimes the answer isn't immediately apparent. Sometimes you have to trust that the lesson will reveal itself in time. This brings me to the importance of patience in the reset process. We live in an instant gratification society where people expect immediate results. But meaningful change takes time. Building new habits takes time. Developing new skills takes time. Creating new results takes time. You must be patient with the process while being urgent with your actions. Think of your life reset like planting a garden. You can't plant seeds today and expect to harvest fruit tomorrow. But if you consistently water, weed, and tend to your garden, eventually you will enjoy an abundant harvest. The same is true with your life. If you consistently make better choices, develop better habits, and take better actions, eventually you will enjoy better results. But here's the key: you must tend to your garden every day. You can't water your plants once and expect them to thrive. You can't weed once and expect your garden to stay clean. Gardening is a daily practice, and so is life improvement. Success is not an event. Success is a process. Success is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and preparation happens daily. Now let me talk to you about the role of learning in your reset journey. If you want your life to change, you must change. If you want things to get better, you must get better. If you want more, you must become more. And becoming more requires continuous learning and growth. The person you are today with your current knowledge, skills, and habits created your current results. If you want different results, you must become a different person. This doesn't mean changing your core identity or values. This means expanding your capabilities, deepening your knowledge, and developing new skills. Make learning a daily habit. Read books that challenge your thinking. Listen to podcasts that expand your perspective. Attend seminars that teach you new skills. Find mentors who can guide your growth. Surround yourself with people who know more than you do about the areas where you want to improve. But here's something crucial. Don't just consume information, apply it. The world is full of educated derelicts, people who know a lot but do very little with what they know. Knowledge without application is useless. You must take what you learn and immediately put it into practice. You must become a student of life, not just a collector of information. As you're learning and growing, you must also be teaching and sharing. There's something magical that happens when you teach what you're learning. It deepens your own understanding. It forces you to clarify your thinking. It connects you with like-minded people. It positions you as someone who is growing and improving. You don't have to be an expert to share what you're learning. You just have to be one step ahead of someone else. You can share your experiences, your insights, your challenges, and your breakthroughs. You can mentor someone who is where you used to be. You can inspire someone who needs encouragement. You can teach someone who is ready to learn. This brings me to one of the most fulfilling aspects of resetting your life, the opportunity to serve others. As you grow and improve, you develop the capacity to help others do the same. As you overcome challenges, you gain the wisdom to guide others through similar struggles. As you achieve goals, you prove to others that transformation is possible. Service is not just about giving back. Service is about finding meaning and purpose in your journey. Service is about using your growth to make a positive impact on the world around you. Service is about leaving things better than you found them. When you combine personal development with service to others, you create a life of deep fulfillment and lasting significance. But here's something important to understand. You can't give what you don't have. You can't teach what you haven't learned. You can't inspire others to change if you haven't changed yourself. This is why your personal reset is not selfish. This is why your commitment to growth is not self-centered. This is why your pursuit of excellence benefits not just you, but everyone whose life you touch. As I begin to bring this message to a close, let me remind you of something fundamental. You have everything you need to begin your reset today. You don't need more time, you need better use of the time you have. You don't need more money, you need better financial habits. You don't need more opportunities, you need to better prepare yourself for the opportunities that already exist. You don't need more luck, you need to work harder and smarter so that when luck comes, you're ready for it. The resources you need are available. The information you need is accessible. The support you need is findable. The only question is, are you ready to do what it takes? Are you ready to step out of your comfort zone and into your growth zone? Are you ready to stop making excuses and start making progress? Are you ready to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your destiny? Your life is waiting for you to reset it. Your potential is waiting for you to unleash it. Your dreams are waiting for you to pursue them. Your future self is waiting for you to make the decisions today that will create the tomorrow you desire. The question is not whether you can change your life. The question is whether you will change your life. The time for excuses is over. The time for delays is over. The time for someday, maybe if everything works out, thinking is over. The time is now. The person is you. The power is within you. Force yourself to reset your life, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Not because you feel like it, but because you owe it to yourself and to everyone who believes in you. Your reset starts now. Your transformation begins today. Your new life is waiting for you to create it. What are you waiting for?